from Forbes Breaking News. Kristi Noem shockingly claims Chinese spies tried to visit her state in blunt warning about CCP.
I was first elected to our state legislature in 2006 and became the assistant majority leader in the House. While there, I rewrote our agriculture property tax system. I ended up running for Congress, was elected, served on this committee, and we worked on 2 farm bills while I served on this committee, also served on natural resources, on the Armed Services Committee, Education and Workforce Committee, and then ended on Ways and Means Committee when we did tax reform, and was very proud to see that signed into law. In 2018, when I ran for governor in our state, and I won and then was reelected again last year, or in 2022.
Okay, so yeah, I did live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, very briefly, not because she is one of the easiest on the eyes politicians in all of America, but because at that point in time, she was also one of the most based. People give credit to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, but I think, now maybe I'm mistaken or maybe I'm misremembering a little bit, but he wasn't quite as, freedom loving as everybody makes it out to be now, right? So people loved him, and then, he went up against Trump and people didn't really like him, and then he got back in Florida and started doing some fairly based things, and I think people like him again now. But this woman, while Ron DeSantis was kind of tiptoeing around the closure and stuff, none of that ever happened in South Dakota.
And I'm in my second term now. I tell you all of this because I think it's important for you to know that my heart is with the land and it is with our people. But when it comes to policy, that I know what I'm talking about. And I know it because I live it. Today, I focus of this committee is the danger that China poses to American agriculture.
Okay, so it sounds like she's about to get into it. And I also just wanted to mention that when I first got to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I was talking to some locals, people only started to warm up to her in late 2020 because early on, the people of the state thought she was too soft on immigration, and there's the whole thing about the meatpacking plant and all the African migrants with the same birthday, January 1st of several different years. They didn't like her for that, but they liked that she didn't, I believe, fact check me on this, that she was the only governor, the only state that didn't shut down for not even one single day, which makes, it made perfect sense to me at that point in time. That's why I went there, and it makes even more sense now, but a little bit of a different story.
Over the years, I have witnessed this hostile communist country work to systematically take over our food supply chain.
True. I'm not doubting that. But we also kind of live in a hostile communist country as well.
They have decades ago started buying our fertilizer companies, controlling our ability to access fertilizer, bring it into the United States. Then I watched them buy up our chemical companies as I worked on implementation of programs and policies at our state level and at the federal level. I watched us as we sold citizenship to Chinese communist members of the Communist Party for investment into our processing systems. And now most of our processing facilities are owned by the Communist Party or Chinese government. Now they are coming for our land. And when they buy up our land, they will complete their chain of control of our food supply.
Absolutely. I'm not doubting that, but this has come to my mind. What was that whole thing about the promo she did for the dentist in Texas, right? I realize that's completely unrelated, but while she's talking very stoically and serious about the CCP takeover, she was also doing brand shout outs for a dentist in Texas.
I have needed to have an adjustment to my teeth from a biking accident. I did a consultation here at Smile, Texas, and did it by Zoom. I spent my whole life farming and ranching, riding horses, chasing cows, and then got into government and politics, where everything is speaking and interviews and giving speeches. I want, when people look at me, to hear the words that I say and not be distracted by something that I'm wearing or how I look. When they showed me my beautiful new teeth, I hugged Dr. Davis and thanked him and started to cry, just because he really does care about the work that he does. It has been a gift to be here at Smile, Texas.
Random.
Between 2010 and 2020, the Chinese Communist Party's holdings of ag land increased by 5,300%. Reports now show that China owns about 384,000 acres of U.S. ag land, valued at over $2 billion. This should be alarming to all of us. USDA admits that this may not even account for all of the land that they own because there's very little track of foreign interests that are involved in these large transactions. In fact, there's very little reporting that happens at the state or the federal level, and little consequences for allowing countries who hate us from owning our land. Just this past summer, we had members of the Communist Party contact our state government and want to come and visit.
That actually makes perfect sense, the countries that hate us owning the land, because one could make the argument that the Biden crime family, Beijing Biden, Beau Biden himself, is completely compromised by that regime.
To our processing facilities, see our farms, and visit South Dakota. We declined all of those meetings, but just within days we received a phone call from the State Department telling us that those were Chinese spies. They were there to steal our intellectual property, to steal our genetics, and wanted to debrief us if we had met with them.
Hold on, I gotta go back.
We were not. We were told they were there, but just within days we received a phone call from the State Department telling us that those were Chinese spies. They were there to steal our intellectual property, to steal our genetics, and wanted to debrief us if we had met with them. Thank God we did not. We were not. We were told they were there to help improve our trade relations, that they were there to improve our business and our exports, and instead they were there to steal from the United States of America.
Are you suggesting that the communists were lying to get on the inside?
So the threat is very real to us every single day, what China is doing, and they have a 1,000-year plan to become the world dominating power in the world, and the only thing standing in their way is America. Just this past summer, it was very clear to me when those Chinese spies were in our state that China...
There's also some talk of, Chinese nationals who are hopping the border with migrants from everywhere, but now there's Chinese people showing up at the southern border and trying to get through. So they are quite literally coming at America from all angles. Beau Biden and the regime are letting it happen. In fact, not only letting it happen, but actively helping it to. I mean, it's like, Beau, why are you doing this? Yeah, I guess it's family, it's legacy, right? Hunter Biden's already 50 years old, so they have to pass that down. Pelosi's older than Beau Biden himself, but you guys should just go away. You have plenty of money, enough for generations. Leave us alone.
Wants to control us, and they want to do that by controlling our food supply. The Chinese Communist Party is not our friend. They're not our partner, and they're not our ally. They're our enemy. And they're
just like Beijing Beau Biden,
a rapidly expanding national security threat that can't be ignored. So let me be clear. They are buying up our entire food supply chain, and when America can't feed itself and we rely on other members of another country to feed us, it becomes a national security issue. The country that feeds us will control us. And let me remind you why we do a farm bill every year. And I'm well aware that you have a priority to get that done, and I'm looking forward to getting a farm bill done, because that is the safety net for our farmers out there. In the past, the farm bill has always been a bipartisan issue, and it should continue to be a bipartisan issue. I had the opportunity to work on 2 of them, and it is simply a safety net for our farmers.
Can anything be bipartisan? If something is bipartisan, it's probably the most awful thing. If the Uniparty agrees on it, it's probably terrible, because anything worth doing, anything that makes sense, anything that benefits the American population is going to be absolutely vilified by the left-wing establishment, while they try to cover up all of their crimes and all of their bills with poison pills and fancy names.
It is important, and America decided years ago that we needed to have a farm bill to ensure that every family in this country had a safe and had an affordable food supply, that they had the ability to go to a grocery store and to put food on the table for their families, and that if a farmer had a good year, he could pay his bills, but if he had a bad year, he could lose everything. And we didn't want to have a drought or a flood or something happen that caused us to lose all of our small family farms and allow us to lose the ability to feed ourselves. Every family in this country recognizes the importance of a farm bill. I know you do too, and I'm looking forward to you getting one completed to make sure that we continue to feed ourselves in this country. The farm bill should be designed to help farmers and not environmental extremists. I hope that you'll continue to focus on making sure that...
That's a good point, and that's one of the things about the bipartisan nature of any bills is that the climate zealots, the environmental extremists are going to try to tear everything to shreds.
We are working as a conservationist myself. I'm committed to protecting the abundance of our natural resources in my state, but so-called climate-smart agriculture dictated by the Biden administration does not help farmers, and it does not help us put food on the table or conserve our natural resources.
Yep, because soon enough, you're going to be eating the bugs, living in the pod, and they are trying to hasten that, especially now because the writing's on the wall, and outside of an astronomical amount of cheating, they're going to have the brakes put on all of their weirdo stuff, which I guess in a weird way, it's kind of good that 2020 might not have been on the level, because if it were, then we would be going out of the Trump years in 2025, and then there would be some other weirdo. Could you imagine Bo Biden at the AG is now trying to run again? They got nobody. There's nobody on the bench, which is a small part of the reason why they're so desperate.
Well, you want wildlife habitat solutions that meets the needs of the people and the states that best serve this country and our ability to feed ourselves and protect ourselves. The Farm Bill manages risk, and it is a safety net, and I hope that you can get that done. Recent media reports show that the largest Chinese holder of American ag land is shipping food and medical supplies to China to be stockpiled by the Chinese military. We all saw when China...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is this guy right here, is he paying attention at all? What is going on with that dude?
China purchased land in North Dakota that they claimed was for a corn processing plant, that there wasn't going to be enough corn in that area to supply that plant, and that it was just miles from a military installation. They were purchasing that land on purpose for national security reasons, and that is why I've made it a priority in my state to ensure that that doesn't happen on my watch. In South Dakota, we worked for 2 years to make sure that we had a bill in place that would make sure we know who's buying our land and that it wasn't going to be from a country that hated us. China would never allow us to go to their country and buy land in their country. Facts. They don't even allow their own people to buy their land. There's no reason we should allow them to come into our country and buy our land, and especially not close to our military installations. South Dakota is the home to Ellsworth Air Force Base. It's the home of the B-1 bomber that has protected this country for the last 50 years. It's also home to the MQ-9 Reaper drones, which are in operation protecting us as well. But it will be the first home of the B-21s, which will be the bombing platform that will protect this country for the next 50 years. And it's incredibly important that we stop China and that we make sure other evil foreign governments don't come in and have the opportunity to buy up land next to these military installations. When we talk about food policy, please talk about it from a national security standpoint. It is important that we grow our own food, that we produce it here, and that we're doing it in a way that protects the United States of America.
I've also heard that, there's some weirdo Transformers in an army suit that tell us inclusion and cutting the dicks and tits off kids is a matter of national security.
So inclusion is a national security imperative.
What?
We fight today, and we are going to fight in the future using brain power. And if that brain, who's going to revolutionize the way we fight in space, we fight in cyber, just happens to be in a trans body, you should want them all serving alongside you.
Yeah. Right? But it sounds to me like she's actually speaking to the issue of national security when you're talking about food, but then you have the weirdos on the left saying, well, inclusion helps. Oh, is it Dr. Admiral Rachel Levine and that other weirdo lady man Space Force person who says, oh, it's all about inclusion. You have to use the right pronouns and you have to let the women bend their babies for national security.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I will yield back.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Now it's...
All right. Well, I think that was pretty good. A lot of people say that Kristi Noem is an establishment hack shill. I don't know if I buy that. She was totally based on the Rona restrictions, and she makes some sound arguments against China.